Over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, Mr. President, and most importantly, Mr. Vinay. Today, my speech is on lessons on learning. We are taught to embrace learning, never stop learning, develop a passion for learning. But have you ever been in a situation where you tried your best to learn, but you still can't get it? And that is exactly how I felt over the past 4 months when I took up a beginner's course in pottery wheel. And it taught me more about learning than on pottery itself. So the first method of learning is by example. One way is by imitating a perfect example. It's like following a manual in your DIY IKEA chair. You follow step 1 to 10, you end up with a chair. Children also learn best by imitation. We grow up imitating our parents, how they walk, how they eat, how they speak, how they carry themselves. And when we go into education, we imitate our teachers, we imitate our friends. And this is what they do in pottery classes as well. The instructor demonstrates in the beginning, advise how to do certain techniques, what to avoid, and they will show you the end product. This is what you get at the end, a perfect cup. And the rest of the time will be given for the students to practice. So as a newcomer and a not very creative person, I would try to follow as close as possible, noting down the tricks and the tips that the instructor gave. And when we get stuck halfway, the instructor would walk around and they would come and tell us how it's supposed to be like and demonstrate in front of us. Because as newcomers, we don't know what the clay is supposed to feel like, whether it's too dry, it's too wet, and the instructor will give us a good gauge of what is correct. However, things don't always turn out the way that we want it to be, even when we follow step by step. At times, the clay just refuses to behave the way that it's supposed to, even when I copied exactly what the instructor did. So when we begin, we need to get rid of all the air bubbles in the clay, so we need to pull it up and push it down. But when I tried to pull it up, it wouldn't go up. When I tried to push it down, it wouldn't go down. It just stayed there. And maybe I missed a step, maybe I didn't copy exactly, but I was not sure. So at times, despite our best efforts to follow the steps, we still don't get the expected result. And that's where the second method of learning comes in. So when imitation doesn't work, we start exploring different ways to get to the end result. In pottery, there's no one right method to do things, and the instructor demonstrates different techniques and we are encouraged to explore the different ways. So another struggle I had was centering the clay, and this is a very crucial first step. If not done correctly, it will affect the next few steps in a stonewall fashion. So an off-center piece would affect the shape of the item, and when you pull up the walls, it will become lopsided. And this is what happened in this piece, where one side is broken off because this side was too thin, while this side was too fat. So this is what happens when it's not in the center. So imagine the clay spinning, the wheel spinning. You are supposed to put your hand there to guide, and the circular motion would cause the clay to go into the shape that you want it to be. You're not supposed to use a lot of force. What happened was that my hand started following the clay instead. So it went in an even more off-fashion method. And because I'm stuck at this step, I couldn't advance on to pulling up and making the different pieces. The instructors recommended that I take more time to practice. Otherwise, I would be wasting my money, wasting time. But at that time, I was halfway through the course. I just wanted to get over with it, done with it, and I don't want to touch clay ever again. But at the same time, I didn't want to waste money. So I took a gamble, decided to push on, and that's where I started experimenting. I tried different methods. I tried using 2 hands. I tried using my whole body weight. I tried spinning slower, spinning faster, and sorry, do I follow your card or do I follow the color? Okay, sorry, okay. Yeah. And after much trial and error, only after more than halfway through, I found a method that worked. And that is to really lock everything in place, put everything down so that my hand do not move, and the clay finally started moving to my hand. And I could finally move on. And the third method of learning is through experience. Whether it's the experience of others or our own past experiences. After I got past entering the clay, I started moving on to making bowls. The next step after you form the shape is to trim off the edges. And just as I was trimming off the bottom of it, I misjudged the bottom. I created a hole. My first thoughts was, what use is a bowl if it has holes? Everything will fall out. It's a waste. I have to throw everything out again. But the instructor came around and said, why don't you make more holes? What? One hole not enough? I need to make more holes? What is she thinking of? No, she explained. You make more holes, so you can see there's 3 holes here. It becomes a flower pot. And the water, excess water can flow out here. I wouldn't have thought of that if not for her. Without her experience, I wouldn't have been able to salvage this piece. Yeah. And in conclusion, the pottery taught me 3 valuable lessons about learning: through example, through exploration, and through experience. All 3 takes time and effort, and even if you get it once, it does not mean that you can replicate it easily. And it's also not a step that you can ask ChatGPT to help you to do. That being said, it's not without reward. The satisfaction comes in when you look at the piece and you say, it's worth it. And it's also that makes us to decide to do the things that we said we will not do again. And yes, I have signed up for another course, even though I said I wouldn't. And this time I will go in with a different mindset. Thank you very much.